Thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. We've reached the end of another working week once again, and the European Outlook's also. In tomorrow's video, we will have the tropical outlook. It could get rather tasty over the next week or so, as we've got a system that is moving towards the Lesser Antilles, the Eastern Caribbean Sea, and the models are all over developing this into tropical storm, if not Hurricane Beryl, I think it's Beryl. Um, have to check that one. But we're going to be looking at that in quite a bit of detail and potentially how strong this could become. Looking at some of the aspects that could be a little bit unfavorable for this developing system, and also potential track further down the road. So do check out the tropical outlook tomorrow. That will be released in the afternoon. And also, we have got the live stream this Sunday at 4 p.m. as per usual. But certainly, we've had some very interesting weather over the last 24 hours or so. Some fairly heavy, persistent rainfall, gusty winds, unseasonably cool and unsettled conditions for the end of June. And essentially, this very short lived heat wave, heat wave, southeastern England will have it, but up here across the north, it was a 1 day affair where we managed to get to 27.3 at a point in Aberdeenshire. Dublin, Phoenix Park, I think, recorded just over 26 Celsius. Northern Ireland recorded just over 25 Celsius. So it was a very, very short lived warm spell. And it's all courtesy of this deep area of low pressure that has swung across the north of the UK over the last 24 hours or so. So the centre was here last night, dropped probably down to around 988 millibars. But essentially, this was a way out over the North Atlantic. We had southwesterly winds, we had high pressure and warm conditions. But generally speaking, this thing moved fairly quickly into Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, dropping the temperature quite significantly. And then we've seen the drop in temperature starting off at just over 28 Celsius at Wisley a few days ago. Then we had 2 days in a row of 30 Celsius. And then yesterday we seen down to 25 Celsius at Heathrow to the west of London. That was the maximum. So we dropped back below heat wave criteria. Obviously, the definition of a UK heat wave varies, largely 25 for 3 straight days. But once you get to the southeast of the Birmingham area, it goes to 27 and then even 28 down around the London area. You have to have 28 Celsius or higher 3 consecutive days to constitute a heat wave. But you can see here, this is the area of low pressure. As we play through this animation, you can see it's swinging eastwards across the country and sweeping in nice fresher air from the Atlantic here. And they was still held on to some warmth across the southeast, but that is slowly dropping off. So where do we stand for the month of June? The CET, or the Central England temperature, was over a degree and a half below normal a week ago, but we're now clinging on to a negative anomaly. As of the 27th of June, the anomaly, the CET is currently sitting at 14.0 Celsius, with an anomaly of minus 0.1 Celsius. Now, we've obviously still got 2 full days of June to go, and that's not including today as well. So it'll be interesting to see, do we hold on to this negative anomaly for the month of June overall, or does it go to average? But one thing I want to point out is we've not had average or below average CET mean temperature this year so far. So this is going to be quite interesting to see. Look at February, over like what, full 4 Celsius warmer than average. I think it was the warmest February on record, if I'm right in saying. March was a degree, 2.5 degrees above. We've seen nearly 3 Celsius above average for the month of May. And like I say, this is quite a wee bit of a turnaround, if you notice, really, considering what we've had January till now in terms of the CET mean temperature. So yeah, this is the past week seen by the CDAS data here. So we've had a warmer than average past week, and that has really done a work on the temperature. Normally up until about mid-month, even close to the 20th of the month, this June was running 13th coldest on record, and obviously the past week or so of warmer conditions has definitely dented the warm anomaly across the UK and Ireland. So this is the month to date. So this is as of the 28th of June. And the big question is going to be, do we hold on to this negative anomaly for the month as a whole? I think we will, given the fact that we've got average to the east, below average to the west of the UK, and obviously the next couple of days are going to be on the cool side. So we're not going to continue to see warmer than average temperatures. So therefore, I don't expect much in the way of change with this anomaly to see the rest of this month out. And it'll be quite interesting to see some of the stats, given how warm May was versus the slightly below average June that I think we're going to see. Look at Spain and Portugal. It's not been a particularly warm June. It's been a very wet, quite unsettled, and rather innocuous June and first month of meteorological summer down across southwestern Europe here. Elsewhere across the continent, really, you could draw a line right down the middle, average to below average in the west, warmer than average in the east. And that is where we've got the driest soils. We've got severe drought across the continent in the eastern side of the continent. So, quite interesting stuff, I must say. Also, looking at a couple of other interesting things here. This is the month of June. This is sent in to me by Richard Trott. Massive thank you to Richard for doing so. This is the 500 millibar pattern for up until the 25th of the month. And I want to point something out here, which is quite interesting. Notice the high. I know it might be a little bit hard to see, but notice the persistent block over the central North Atlantic. Also notice that we've had more troughiness actually over Greenland compared to what we've seen in months gone by with that negative NAO. It's been more during the course of June, that high over the central North Atlantic with a negative extending from Greenland down over Iceland into the UK and Ireland and extending into the southwest of Europe all the way down to the Canaries, if you notice here. And the warmest conditions and the strongest high pressure has been focused over the southeast of the continent here. This has been the general idea for the whole summer, actually, that we would see more negative in the west, rigid in the east. And I want to show you something here. This is the month of July seen by the GFS extended. Now, I showed you either yesterday or the day before, I think it might have been yesterday, the ECMWF weeklies for the next 30-day period. So this is the GFS extended for the next 30 days. This takes out to the 27th of July. And you notice something here. This is the surface pressure. I'm going to show you the upper pattern in a second. But notice something here. And this is what I showed you as well. The warmer than average sea surface temperatures over the central North Pacific and the central North Atlantic. That is where the high is seen to be residing over the next 30-day period here. Does that not, in my opinion, does that not look to you very similar to the month of June? Looking at the upper air pattern. So I know this is slightly different because I'm showing you a surface pressure, and then I'm also showing you a pressure at 18,000 feet above our heads. But look at the position of the high. Bang slap over the central North Atlantic. We've got the negative draped from Canada, horseshoeing over the top into the UK and Ireland and Western Europe here. Now look back at what the GFS extended is showing. You've got that negative over the top of Canada, through Greenland and into the UK and Ireland. That to me is very, very similar, and it would suggest to me that there is a possibility that we're going to have a similar type of month coming up as to the June that we've just seen going by. Let's now look at the upper air pattern chart here for the same period, so the same 30-day period between the 27th of June and the 27th of July. And that is very, very similar in terms of the upper pattern for the past, 25 days or so versus the upcoming 30 days or so. This is very, very interesting stuff here, by the way. That is not a particularly warm look, if I'm being honest with you. Let's have a look at the European view and see what we're looking at here. So this is how it looks on the pressure chart here over Europe. Let's have a look at precipitation and see what the model is indicating. So we've got a dry south, wetter north, certainly based in the UK, I suppose Ireland as well here. somewhat wetter than average across parts of Iberia, drier also north coast, east coast, south France. We've got quite a wet look across much of Scandinavia. Central Europe, once again, trophiness, low pressure, wet conditions during the month of June. Looks as if it's going to hold on. According to this long range period, this is obviously a 30-day period. There is going to be variables in that 30-day period, but this is averaged out, and that is rather interesting to see. Let's finally look at the surface temperature anomaly here for the next 30-day period. And look at that. It's showing below average temperatures. This could be very, very interesting if this even has a smidgen of reality to it. Given the June that we've just seen, remember, we've had a very, very firm below average anomaly up until a week ago, and this is certainly very interesting stuff. Now, also we need to remember the waters around the UK, with the exceptions of the North Sea, has actually cooled off, and therefore that might have an influence on the feel of things. Remember, below average temperatures in July isn't cold. When you get the sunshine, it feels pleasant. Out of the sun with rain, breeze, it can feel subpar to say the least here. So let's just kind of take this a little bit with a bit of reality to it, but certainly very, very interesting stuff. So anyway, we'll look at this in a little bit more detail on Monday's European Outlook here. This is the latest satellite imagery now. You can see here that area of low pressure moving off to the east. We've got fresh westerly winds now sweeping in off the Atlantic. We're keeping our eyes on this feature here. That's moving in. That's going to bring more cloud and rain into the first half of the weekend. There's that area of low pressure spinning away over Iberia. Some thunderstorms over parts of France, but generally speaking, it's largely decent across the majority of France today. Low countries, we've got some wispy high cirrus clouds by the looks of it here in that cool, fresh westerly flow. Same for Germany. Then we've got some thunderstorms over the eastern side of the continent here. Some probably lively gusts of wind, downpours, large hail. That is likely the case. Looking at the UK, radar imagery here, you can see showers blowing in from the west here in the backside of that area of low pressure. Some shower activity over parts of Western Ireland, also Northern England to speak about as well. But generally speaking, not too bad, albeit feeling fresh. Do we have a heat wave on the cards? Certainly for the foreseeable future, I don't think so. Given what I've just showed you with the 30-day anomaly, for example, here, it doesn't look as if it's going to be anything significant in terms of heat. We'll play it quickly through this GFS. This is the 850 temperatures and a very good handle in terms of what type of air mass we have in place. And you notice here that we do not really have anything particularly warm seen by the GFS model up until at least the end of day 10 of July here. So you can see here as we play through this loop, area of high pressure centered over the central North Atlantic. We've got generally a west and northwesterly airflow, and you notice here that we're dragging in some fresher air off Greenland, off the North Atlantic here, and play right the way through the loop. Where's the heat? It's focused over the south and east of the continent here. This is all the way out to the 10th of July, by the way, and it is not indicating anything significantly warm. Now, we do flirt with something a little bit warmer as we move towards the 12th of July here. We've got some fairly hot air across the heart of Europe that is trying to edge into the southern half of the UK. My take from this would be that we've got almost a similar idea to the month of June. Cool first half, warmer second half. It takes a heck of a lot, especially at this time of the year, to have a month where we don't really see anything particularly warm. We're going to get it. We are going to see it at times. I think it's going to be fairly short-lived, if I'm being honest with you, given what I'm seeing now. But certainly this is turning out to be a rather interesting summer. I know for heat lovers, you're not going to particularly like this, but I think there's plenty of people out there that are not big fans of the heat. I think you would have to get down to the Mediterranean and the southeast of Europe to see any appreciable heat in the next couple of weeks anyway here. So it does not look like we've got anything particularly warm to speak about through the first half of July. And given how short-lived the heat was in the past week or so, given how June's turned out to be, this has turned out to be a surprisingly cool summer so far, given recent times and given all the chat with regards to climate change, etc., etc. Just shows you it. Not every month, not every summer is blowtorch like what we've seen the summer that we hit 40 Celsius, for example. So yeah. Finally, let's have a look and see at the overview chart here real quick, because I'm needing to get my dinner and head out to work. So you can see here as we play through the GFS, got that northwesterly airflow here. Nothing really to write home about with that system coming in off the Atlantic, according to the GFS. And then we'll continue to play through the loop. Notice here that area of high pressure anchored quite strong over the central North Atlantic. We've essentially got systems run over the top of that into the UK, continuing to push fresh air in off the Atlantic here. So weather systems moving in, but generally speaking, no massive washout to speak about. If you notice, we've not got this kind of slow moving area of low pressure bank slab over the UK. We don't have that. We've essentially got a westerly flow with embedded features running that flow, bringing spells of showers, possible longer spells of rain, but decent spells of sunshine in between that. So let's keep that. Let's keep that in mind. So anyway, that's it for today. Do check out Tropical Outlook. It's going to be an interesting one tomorrow, and the live stream at 4 p.m. Sunday. Hope you can join me for that. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and enjoy the upcoming weekend. Bye for now.